ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I'm happy to be here with all of you today, and we will discuss one of the key verses from the Bhagavad Gita today. Am I audible to everyone? Thank you. So let's recite the verse. I'll explain the meaning and then we will talk about the verse. So Krishna is saying over here, Mai Sarvani Karmani. The karma that we do, all the karma, Mai, offer it to me. Mai Sarvani Karmani. Sanyasya. Sanyasya means to renounce. How do we renounce? Adhyatma Chetasa. Understanding that we are meant to be in spiritual consciousness. Adhyatma Chetasa. Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. So then he says, Nirashir Nirmamo Bhutva. That be without any worldly desires, without any worldly possessiveness. Nirashir Nirmamo Bhutva. And then he says, Yudhyasva, fight. And then Vigata Jvaraha. Jvaraha can mean fever. In this particular context, it refers to apathy. That just being completely apathetic or lazy or lethargic about things. Yudhyasva Vigata Jvaraha. So let's try to recite this together now, not responsibly but together 3 times. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasyadhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Thank you. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Shesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can understand your words and align our life according to the wisdom that you have given us. Hare Krishna. So, today we are going to discuss on the theme of the Bhagavad Gita and how its wisdom can help us in our lives. So, broadly, I'll be using this as a whiteboard to write and draw things. Basically, everything that I speak will be centered on this particular 4-quadrant diagram. So, one is that there's to have desire. Now, our desire can be strong or our desire can be weak. Now, our wisdom can be strong, that means we can be wise, or it can be weak. So, basically, Krishna in many places in the Bhagavad Gita talks about Mai arpita mano buddhir. So, desires are associated with the mana, the mind, and wisdom is associated with the buddhi. So, now if we consider for many people in life, this particular verse is talking about the various gunas. See, for some people, we are all living in life and we all have various kinds of consciousness. So now, for some people whose wisdom is weak and desire is also weak, that is the characteristic of tamas. Sattvam rajastama iti guna prakriti sambhava. Krishna says sattva rajastama are the 3 modes and everybody is bound by that. And in this particular chapter, Krishna is talking about vigata jvaraha. The jvara in this particular verse, jvara refers to the effect of the mode of tamas. So there are some people, the mode of tamas is characterized by lethargy, apathy. It's for such people, the most important thing in life is how to avoid any trouble, how to avoid any inconvenience. If they can spend their entire day without having anything that requires them to endeavor, they think, oh, the day was very good. So avoid all inconvenience, avoid all discomfort. For such people, oh, if I can spend my day from morning to night just sitting in front of a TV and just enjoying TV. If you ask such people, oh, what is their conception of the perfect life? There was some survey done among Christians. It says, about what do you think is heaven? What would heaven be like? So they say, heaven is like a perpetual TV watching. The idea is that, oh, just sit and enjoy watching TV, enjoy watching movies. So the idea is, don't do any work at all. So it is characterized by lethargy. The defining criteria is no inconvenience at all. That all that I want, see, everybody has some conception of artha in their life. Now the word artha has many artha. The word artha, what is the meaning of artha? One meaning is simply meaning. Another is money. Anything else? If you consider, there are 4 purusharthas of life. So what does artha mean over there? Yes, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, that's true. But what does the word artha mean over there? In the word purushartha? Yes, goal or purpose. So it's interesting. Among the purusharthas, artha is one purushartha. So artha can mean money. Money is one purpose of life. So the word artha has many different meanings. And the idea is that as we grow in wisdom, our conception of what is artha, it keeps rising upward till ultimately we get to what is the param artha. That is Paramartha. So it is evolution in Artha. More specifically, it is evolution in our understanding of Artha. Now, for a newborn baby, say the Artha is the milk that it gets from the mother's breast. Initially, when the baby is newborn, the baby doesn't even understand that there is a person here and this person loves me. It just there is some soft object, from this something nice, juicy comes up and I like it very much. That's all. But slowly, as the baby starts growing, the baby starts understanding, okay, there's a person over here. This person loves me with me. This person is the source of comfort. So like that, say initially for a just mother's milk may be the Artha. Then as the child grows up, toys may be the Artha. Child's whole life is centered on playing with toys. And sometimes a child has a toy and they don't want to share the toy with anyone else. These are my toys, nobody else can get it. But then maybe as the child grows, friends are the Artha. Having toys is nice to play with, but I want someone else to play with. So friends become the Artha. And like that, as we move forward, our conception of Artha keeps evolving. Then marks may become the Artha for a child. Now, of course, generally marks are the Artha much more for the parents than for the child. The child may not be that concerned. But the idea is, the child also realizes, because my parents consider this to be important, so this is important for me also. Then money may become important. Okay, without money we can't live. We need money in life. So like that, each of these, with time, our conception of Artha keeps growing. So in this, for some people, in Tamas, their Artha is convenience. I just want convenience and comfort. I don't want anything else. Or rather, I may want other things, but this is what I want the most. So at this particular time, what one doesn't have a very strong desire for anything also. So that is Tamoguna. Now in the Rajas, what happens is, the desire is strong, but the wisdom is not very strong. So somebody will say, oh, okay, some people may just work very hard to achieve something, and then is that really worth achieving? So here Krishna talks about Nirashir Nirmamo. So what happens? Some people may spend their whole life earning money. And I said money is important, no doubt. But if in the process of earning money, they ruin their health, they take extremely stressful jobs. So some people till 40, 45, they earn a lot of money taking a lot of stress. And then say they lose their health to gain wealth. And then after that, they have to lose their wealth to try to regain the health back. And at the end, they lose both the health and the wealth. Isn't it? It's a tragic life story. But what happens in Rajas, what we are desiring is largely determined by the world around us. Oh, become an engineer, become a doctor, get a big house, get a big car. So we don't really think whether these things are really important or not. Whether they will really make me happy or not. That's why Krishna is here talking about Nirmama. Nirmama means, don't be so possessive, thinking that these are the things will make me happy. So now things are important. In the evolution of Artha, money is important, no doubt. And somebody who is attached to toys, for example, that person, if there's an adult who is 25, 30 years old, and that a 25-year-old man is attached to playing with toys. What's wrong with you? Isn't it? They may not be attached to playing with toys. Now many people are attached to playing video games. Isn't it? Those are more sophisticated version of toys. So what happens is, when we have many Artha, when any Artha becomes the Paramartha. When any Artha becomes the Paramartha, that becomes an Anartha. So Anartha means what? Any Artha is made into a Paramartha. So we may say that if a young adult who should be doing a job, having a family, is just busy playing video games and playing toys with toys, what's wrong with you? Isn't it? So Similarly, if somebody is completely obsessed with money to such an extent that in the pursuit of money, like I mentioned, they lose their health, but they even lose their friends. In trying to get to the top, they do politics, not just with colleagues, but even with friends, sometimes even go against relatives. And that person may have a huge mansion to live in. But then, within that mansion, all that they have is a lot of place in which to feel lonely and unhappy. So this is where, if in Rajoguna a person wants a strong desire, but does it really make me happy? The problem is that when, say for example, money becomes the paramartha. When money becomes the paramartha, then what happens? The anartha that comes is greed, lobha. And the problem with greed is what? The greedy are always needy. The greedy are always needy. No matter how much they have, they always want more. No matter how much they have, they are always looking at others who have something more than them. I saw once an ad which said that buy this car and enjoy the envy in your neighbor's eyes. It is not even enjoy how smooth the car is. It is enjoy the envy in your neighbor's eyes. What a pathetic standard of enjoyment. Now today we may enjoy that, but tomorrow what will happen is someone else will get a car better than us and they will enjoy the envy in our eyes. So essentially here what happens is our enjoyment, our happiness requires others' misery, others' unhappiness. Because my whole happiness comes from showing and displaying how I am superior to you, how I am better than you. And such a way of living is not very sustainable. So now in many ways, tamas is the worst and rajas is better. That in rajas at least the desires are there. A person is doing something. Say, in many ways, if you want to consider, Dhritarashtra is an example of tamas. Duryodhan is an example of rajas. Now, of course, sometimes if a tamasic person is attached to a rajasic person, then the tamasic person may also get pulled toward Rajoguna. So what happens is that Rajas means that Dhritarashtra was quite passive. There is no evidence in the Mahabharata that before Duryodhan was born, Dhritarashtra had any very strong envy towards his brother Pandu. He accepted that I don't have eyes, so I cannot become the king. And he was blessed in his own way. His brother was respectful to him. He had a devoted wife. And there is no description that he was burning with dissatisfaction or envy or anything like that. But once his son was born, then he longed that my son should become the king. And now in one sense, even that desire is understandable. It's natural. Which parent would not want their child to prosper? But the problem is, how do we seek that prosperity? That how do we seek that greatness? So in Rajoguna, what happens is that a person basically feels that I have to get this and I have to get it at all costs. Or rather, the person does not think of the costs involved. So Duryodhan thought, I can outwit the Pandavas, I can destroy the Pandavas, I can humiliate the Pandavas, and there will be no cost for it. So the kind of actions that he did were horrendous. And the problem with Rajoguna is that even after doing such actions, one is not satisfied. So Duryodhan arranged for the Pandavas to be exiled to the forest. And while they were exiled to the forest, even then he was not satisfied. Because like the standard is, enjoy the envy in the other's eyes. So he was not happy that I have the entire kingdom and the Pandavas have nothing. He wanted to see how the Pandavas have nothing. And he wanted to show them how I have everything. And then he wanted to see their misery when they see that they have nothing and he has everything. So his happiness became so externally dependent. When the Pandavas were in the forest, he said, I want to go to the forest and I want to exhibit all my wealth to them. And that's how eventually he got into a lot of trouble. There's a whole incident which I won't go into right now, with the story of the Gandharvas. And his whole scheme went against him only. He wanted to display his wealth, but when he went to the forest, and Dhritarashtra was a little cautious. Dhritarashtra said that, you already angered the Pandavas, don't anger them any further. So Duryodhana said that, no, they are going on the other side, I will only go on this side of the river. But he went exactly on the side of the river where the Pandavas could see him. And he said that he wanted to exhibit his wealth from there. And Yudhishthira saw him, nodded, and Yudhishthira was doing some yajnas, talking with some sages. And he saw Yudhishthira was very peaceful. And seeing Yudhishthira so peaceful made Duryodhana agitated. It's like, I want you to be agitated, and if you are not agitated, that makes me agitated. Like sometimes some people want to provoke others. And they speak something which is provocative, and if the other person doesn't get provoked, then they get provoked. Why are you not getting provoked? Something like that. And then there were some Gandharvas over there. They were having some fun over there, and they said, this is our place. Duryodhana said, no, this is my place. And then there was a fight. And, Karna was there, Dushasana was there, Shakuni was there. Now they thought these are Gandharvas, they are powerful beings. When they realized, they fought, but soon they realized that this fight is not to be won. So they got wounded, they retreated. But Duryodhana, they didn't have that desperate need to show that we are superior. So they just retreated, but Duryodhana kept fighting. One of the problems with Rajoguna is, sometimes it is good to cut costs and move back, minimize this is not working, the cost is becoming too much, it's not worth it. Better to cut our losses and move back now. So others moved back, but Duryodhana didn't. And then Duryodhana was arrested. And when he was arrested, at that time, the result was that he was completely humiliated. He had brought his queens and maidservants, and he wanted to show how much I am enjoying to Yudhishthira. And I have maids, and I have queens, and I have so much opulence. But now in front of all of them, he was arrested. This was a nightmare scenario for him. So to be arrested was worse. But then, after that, Bhima and Arjuna came. And they defeated the Gandharvas. That was even worse. They are powerful than him. More powerful. And then, they rescued him. Now, that he was left to the mercy of those whom he wanted to show his prosperity. Even in the forest, when they had nothing, it turned out that they had more power than him. So it was like, his misery, if we consider, when I say artha, when wealth becomes the supreme goal, then it leads to anartha. So what is anartha? For Duryodhana's plight, we consider Duryodhana's unhappiness. It is like, unhappiness was first when he saw that Yudhishthira was peaceful. How can you be peaceful? Why are you not unhappy? And then after that, when he was defeated by the Gandharvas. But that was bad enough. That's one thing, one king defeated another king and then he could have just fled. But he was defeated, after that he was arrested. And then after he was arrested, then he was released by the Pandavas. And then Yudhishthira told him that what happened is, sometimes we do something to annoy others. But before he was released, what happened? He was exposed. How was he exposed? That it was the Gandharvas. So Arjuna fought against the Gandharvas and defeated them. And then the Gandharvas told Arjuna, Yudhishthira, that actually we have been sent by Indra over here. Indra is the father of Arjuna. So he said that Duryodhana had come here to humiliate you and we didn't want you to be humiliated. So now when Duryodhana heard this, that was extremely embarrassing for him. It's like, we do something to put the other person down and now we don't want other person to know that. It's like, I did this. Like we spread a rumor about someone. Now, if we spread the new rumor, it's one thing, I didn't know, I was ignorant, so I spread. We don't want to know that others to know that we spread the rumor. If we spread the rumor comes to be known, that's bad enough. But then, we say, actually I didn't know, I was misinformed. But then somebody exposes, you knew it was false, and you spread it just to assassinate the character of the other person. Then, it's like, there is no place to hide. Isn't it? It becomes totally humiliating for us. So it's like, there is, if you see Duryodhana's unhappiness, here is unhappiness, here is unhappiness squared, unhappiness cube, unhappiness raised to the power of 4, unhappiness raised to the power of 5. It was, Krishna says, Rajasas to phalam dukkham. Rajas, what it leads to is dukkha. So when one has strong desires, but they don't have very good intelligence, that what it is that which I should be desiring, then they end up causing misery for themselves and misery for others. So Krishna says, don't think that your happiness has to depend on how much possessions you have, how much glory you get, how much praise and recognition you get in the world. These are important things, but they are external things. Now, if we move forward or go back to this diagram, we have in Sattva Guna, what happens is the wisdom is high, but the desires are low. This is Sattva. Now, that a person understands that, okay, everything is temporary in the world. There's no need to get so agitated, so worked up about things. Now, it is, in one sense, Sattva is better. So if we consider this is 4, 3, 2, Sattva is better than Rajas. But in Sattva what happens? A person thinks, if something is going wrong, let's just tolerate it, let's just live with it. Let's not do anything about it. So in many ways, and whichever part of the world I have gone, Indians have been very successful. Indians are, as immigrants in those countries, are hardworking, tax-paying, family caring, and they're respected, they're successful. But what happens is that Indians in India, often they're not that successful. Indians have made other countries very successful. Many of the top CEOs in America are Indians. NASA is filled with many Indians. So what has happened is Indians, if the system is good, will work hard and we will rise to the top. If the system is bad, we'll try to find our way to the top. We won't try to change the system. So what happens is Indians individually rise to success. But then if the system is not good, the system stays corrupt and bureaucratically completely overwhelmed and messy. So things are changing to some extent slowly, but in Sattva Guna, things may be wrong. Okay, let them be wrong. I just find my way to live through this and to go through this. So now, this is the stage of, Krishna says, Nirashit Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa is that, okay, goodness is good, but it is not good enough. Because it leads to, okay, this is just too complicated. Let's not get involved with this. But sometimes change requires not just good wisdom, but also a strong desire. This is Arjuna after hearing the Gita. So this is called Shuddha Sattva. This is the stage of bhakti, where the focus is on purifying our hearts and using the power of our desires. So when Krishna told Arjuna to fight a war, what was the purpose of fighting the war? The purpose was, you are not doing this to take revenge, to punish others. You are not doing this to just gain a kingdom for yourself. You are doing this to establish dharma in the world, to be a part of my plan. Yudhishthir, after the or after the exile, he realized that goodness will not be good enough. Especially I am talking about goodness in terms of where there is, now each of these modes are complex, and I am just giving a map to understand this. Sometimes in Tamoguna also people can be very active, but they can be very destructive. So this is just a broad map based on this verse. Each of the guna is complex, but we are trying to understand how the mood of bhakti is. The mood of bhakti is what? It is that we need to have good wisdom, but also we have to have strong desires. Srila Prabhupada could have lived in Vrindavan. He was satisfied speaking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, and he was writing his books. If anybody read them, well and good. But Prabhupada had a strong desire. In fact, what was the desire? To fulfill his spiritual master's desire. To fulfill Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy. That to ultimately share Krishna's wisdom with the world. Krishna says in the end of the Gita that one who shares my message with others is extremely dear to me. So a devotee is not just satisfied saying that, okay, this world is temporary, Krishna is eternal, I'll just be detached from this world so that I can go back to Krishna. That's wonderful, that's definitely better than other ways of looking at life. But a devotee's desire is, people in this world are also parts of Krishna, and they also need to be given Krishna's message. A devotee thinks that I have been given some talents, I have been given some resources, they are meant to be used in Krishna's service. So a devotee has strong desires. What differentiated Prabhupada from many of his god brothers? They were also great souls. Some of them were lifelong brahmacharis or sannyasis. Some of them had much more association of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur than what Prabhupada had. But what differentiated Prabhupada among many things? One of the strongest was his strong desire that I have to share Krishna's message with others. So at the highest level, it's not that the desire becomes weak. Now the desire can be of different kinds. In bhakti also, a devotee can have desire, I want to study Shastra more, I want to chant Krishna's names more, I want to build a temple for Krishna, I want to distribute Krishna's books. So there can be healthy desires. And this is the stage where Mai Sarvani Karmani. Krishna says that it's not just sannyasya. Sannyasya will, I don't want the results of this. But most people will say, if I don't want the result, then why should I work at all? Isn't it? But then if you don't want the results, work for Krishna's pleasure. So this is the perfection. That where a devotee understands what is truly of value. And then the devotee seeks that. So, going back to this particular hierarchy of Artha and Paramartha, this is the last point I'll make, and then we'll have some question answers. That when we talk about Artha and Paramartha, we need Buddhi and we need Mana. By Buddhi, we determine what is Paramartha. Without Buddhi, what will happen is, we will equate some Artha with Paramartha. We'll start thinking, fame is the most important thing in my life. Or wealth is the most important thing in my life. Sometimes we may become devotees also. But when we become devotees, when I come to a place, what I see is, okay, how many people are offering obeisances to me? Why is this person offering only Panchang? Should offer Dandavat, I am a senior devotee. So, we come to the devotee community, but our Paramartha is not Krishna. Our Paramartha becomes how much honor I am getting. So, with Buddhi, we'll remember that Krishna is Paramartha. And then with our Mana, so Buddhi is associated with our wisdom. We need wisdom to know what is the Paramartha, and then we need to have desire for that Paramartha. So with buddhi, we understand that Krishna is the Paramartha, and then with mana, Krishna is my strongest desire, or rather, I have the strongest desire for Krishna. Not that I have no desires, I have not only strong, but the strongest desire for Krishna. When we have the strong desire for Krishna, or rather, we may have many desires, but our desire for Krishna is the strongest. Then throughout our life we will be remembering Krishna, and at the end of our life also we will remember Krishna, and thus ultimately antakale chamameva smaran muktva kalevaram. When we desire Krishna more than we desire the world, and Krishna will take us to him, and we will be able to attain Krishna. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. We talked today about the living the Gita. How do we live the Gita? So I talked about this based on the verse 330 from the Gita, and most of what I spoke was based on this one diagram, that we have been given the power to desire, and we have been given wisdom. So now our desire can be strong or it can be weak. Our wisdom can be sharp or it can be blunt. It can be strong or weak. Can be sharp and it's blunt, then we don't really think what is desirable. So tamas is where we have no desire, strong desire, but we don't even know what is desirable actually. So the example of this was Dhritarashtra to some extent. Then in Rajas what happens? The desire is strong, but we don't consider the cost. Our buddhi is not very strong, so we don't really understand what I should be desiring. Who was the example for this? Duryodhan. Then sometimes the wisdom may be sharp, but the desire may be weak. This can be the characteristic of sattva. Who was the example of this? Yeah, both Yudhishthir and to some extent Arjuna. Before the war. Arjuna before the war, Yudhishthir in the early stages of life. And both of them, now bhakti is what? We have a strong desire but based on sharp wisdom. This was both Yudhishthir and Arjuna. Yudhishthir and Arjuna just before the war. Arjuna after the Gita, after hearing the Gita. So the Gita's wisdom brought Arjuna to the top level. So ultimately from wherever we are, we would like to come to the right top level where we have strong desire and sharp wisdom by which we can understand. And how does this work basically in terms of our growth? We discussed how that we have many arthas. So in tamas, if we consider, the artha primarily is convenience. I just don't want anything to be inconvenient. In rajas, it could be wealth or power or something like that. So in rajas. Now in sattva, what happens is the artha becomes that primarily non-entanglement. It's not convenience. A sattvic person can do austerity. Tapasya they will do. They'll fast or they'll regulate their eating. But I don't want to get involved in things. It's non-entanglement. But it is in bhakti, that is, the paramartha becomes means Krishna seva. How can I serve Krishna? How can I serve Krishna? That becomes the primary focus of a person's life. So what should happen is that if any artha becomes the paramartha, if any lower artha becomes paramartha, then that will lead to anartha. So for example, if wealth becomes the paramartha, the person becomes greedy and they cause problems for others. So with our buddhi, we determine what is the paramartha. And with our mana, with our intelligence, with our mind, we seek, we pursue the paramartha. And that is how we first of all understand what is supremely valuable, and then we pursue that which is supremely valuable, and that's how our life can ultimately attain perfection. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So let us pray to Krishna that, my dear Lord, please bless me with the intelligence to know that it is you who are the Paramartha, and please purify my mind so that I can desire you, and not just desire you, but desire you more than I desire anything else in this world. Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Prabhuji, I have a question, and the question is, actually it's a long question, so this time it's try to speak up. So just like this Prakriti is made of Triguna, so it is also having the Tamamur, Rajasguna and the Sattva, and our body is also made with our previous karma having these three major Trigunas, right? So ultimately in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also said the Jiva is forced to work based on his Triguna that he is made of in the Prakriti. So ultimately our buddhi will be completely bewildered at given point of time to stay in tamas or rajas to an extent. So how can we set ourselves into the Shuddha Bhakti or Sattva to achieve the Krishna service? Because our buddhi will be anytime bewildered by this Prakriti stage.
Okay, good question. Good sit down, thank you. So we have to be a little careful to understand what Krishna is saying. Krishna, as far as I have seen, nowhere does he say that we are forced to act by the modes. You can sit down. The verse 327, which says Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti vanyate. Now what that verse says has to be carefully understood. It doesn't say that we are completely controlled by the modes. It says the illusion is to think that when the modes are doing something, I am doing that thing. That karta aham iti manyate. Right? If we could have two extremes in this. To think that one, which is the common material illusion, is that we do everything. And the other is we do nothing. The modes do everything, we could be. So now if you see, we do everything, this is modes, nothing. But the other is the gunas, they go do everything. Now this is one notion, but if this were true, if we are not the doers at all, what happens at the end of the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna tells Arjuna, Vimrishaita dasheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. Kuru means do. So if the whole teaching of the Gita is the modes are controlling us, we are doing nothing, we can do nothing, then why should Krishna even speak the Gita? Isn't it? So then after that is 1863, 10 verses later, when Arjuna also says, Karishye vachanam tava, I will do your will. So again the doership is there. So the understanding that balanced is that we are one doer, not the sole doer. We are definitely a doer. So this is what Krishna talks about in 1814. What is that? Actually it is 1814, 15, 16 it is. At 40 he says, Tatraivam sati kartaram atmanam kevalam tuyah pashyatya krita buddhitvan nasa pashyati durmatihi. So therefore he says, who is in illusion? One who thinks that I am the sole doer. Atmanam kevalam tuyah. The Atma alone is the doer and there is no other doers. So that is the moha. So basically we have a particular kind of body. So Duryodhana had the Kshatriya body, Arjuna had the Kshatriya body. So they both would naturally act like Kshatriyas. That is the nature of their body. But there is a certain level of freedom we always have. Both will naturally pursue wealth. But why are we pursuing wealth? That is something which we can change. See, everybody will be attracted to something. See, some kids are naturally attracted toward music. And if the parents tell them, there's no career in music. Yes, you study maths and you study science and you grow. Yeah, the child will not be very happy doing that. So, the music, if the child has a natural attraction, then it will encourage that. But then what are the parents' values? The values that the parents teach is that if you have musical talent, then don't parade it over others. Don't become bossy and push all other kids down. Be good friends. Be a cultured person. Be a nice human being. That don't. So how we conduct ourselves. What are we trying to do by getting music? We want to create good music that can inspire others, or we can I want to prove that I am the greatest in the world, and at every opportunity I just push everyone else down. Now that is not going to work. So basically, within us, the gunas, there is the impressions that we get from the past. These are called samskaras. Now in the impressions, there is our vritti and there is our vasana. The vritti is associated with our varna. The vasana is associated with anartha. So the vritti has to be channeled. The vasana has to be curbed. Curbed means that we have to restrict it. So if you consider third chapter of the Gita, Krishna analyzes this. Krishna, on one side he says that, what can repression accomplish? It says, Digraha kim karishyasi. So if you look at these verses, we are 330 only, just few verses later. We'll see over here. Sadrusham cheshtate sasya prakriter jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyasi. So you will naturally, by your nature, be attracted toward acting in a particular way. See, some people are naturally introverts, some people are naturally extroverts, some people are naturally risk-taking, some people are naturally risk-averse. We cannot change that completely. So Krishna says, this is where he is saying we have our vritti. Nigraha kim karishyasi. This is 333. But then immediately after that, what does he say? That we have to regulate yourself. Indriyasyarthe ragadvesho vyavastito. Tayor navashamagachet. Don't come under their control. So that means what? A Kshatriya will naturally want fame and power and prosperity. But what are you going to use it for? Don't come completely under their control. A Brahmana, a person with the Brahmanical nature will naturally want to study and read and understand and analyze. And that's good. But after that, what are they going to do? Are just going to, I want to become a Digvijay Pandit, I want to show everyone how scholarly I am. Or I want to find out what is the ultimate purpose of life and help others move toward that purpose. So our vasanas, they need to be curbed. The vritti is not to be curbed. So the gunas, what they do is, the gunas can determine both the vritti and the vasana, but the gunas don't control us completely. So both come from the gunas. There are some aspects of the gunas that can be controlled, some cannot be controlled. And it's important for us, I have a whole seminar on parenting. There's one concept of parenting is the children are like clay and the parents shape the children. That is not the teaching of the Gita. The children are not like clay, they are like seeds. It's like if you have a mango seed, no matter what you do, you're not going to get orange from there. So it is not that the parents can completely shape the child in their image. The child has a particular vritti from the past life. Now the seed still needs to be taken care of. But the taking care is not changing the seed. It is helping to develop the seed. So there are some things that can't be changed, but some things can be changed. Now what does it mean? That the seed has to be watered properly, there has to be proper fencing. So like that, parents have to take care of the child, parents have to teach the child discipline. So like living within boundaries. And that way the child will grow. So both are important. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Can you further explain the varna? You call varna. Can you understand the varna? I understand that vasana means because of the tendency of doing. Because we have a interest in taking and next step also we interested in taking sweets. For example, if you have previous life, we will interested in more sweets. Then next step also we take tendency to have more sweets. That is called
More
vasana.
more what?
Sweets. Sweet.
Sweets.
Because
Food.
you have
Food. Okay. Okay.
So that you have more tendency because you have a previous vasana,
Yeah.
right? But varna means I don't understand what is mean varna. Varna means is a
You see, Varna means broadly there's Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These are Varnas.
Okay.
So, in today's society, we will not be able to clearly divide this job as this Varna. Sometimes we have teachers that could be Sattvic, but teachers also nowadays have to do fundraising, and especially if you're a professor in a college, you have to get funds for your projects and some sponsorship. So, but the broadly teaching would be Sattvic. Some people are just natural teachers. So now, if somebody was a natural teacher, you put them in the role of a businessman, they will not be able to function properly. So we try to understand what is our vritti. So when Krishna says, Nigraha kim karishyasi, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you are by nature a warrior, you are a protector. And right now you feel you don't want to fight this war because of who is on the opposite side. But due to that, if you give up your swabhava, you give up your nature to be a protector, and then you renounce the world, and then later you come to know, that the Duryodhana and the Kauravas are victimizing innocent people. At that time, you will not be able to live with yourself. At that time, you will feel, I have to do something about it, but you already renounced. For them to go back, for you to go back at that time will be improper. So you are a protector, act as a protector. You are a warrior, you fight, but fight for a worthy cause. So when Arjuna was thinking the artha for which he was fighting was a kingdom, he felt it's not worth it. But when we understood by Krishna's guidance that the artha for which he was fighting is actually to establish dharma in the world, to help everyone have a society by which they could gradually pursue the paramartha. Then he became inspired to fight. Okay? Thank you.
No.
Yeah.
Now, Bhakti, Anishtanikari, Madhyamadikari, Uttamanikari. How we correlate that three stages of Bhakti with the Gita living, what you are.
How can the three stages of bhakti be cultivated, connected?
Gita living.
Yeah, okay. So, if we consider buddhi, and ichha. So now, if we consider the Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyama Adhikari and Uttama Adhikari. So the Madhyama Adhikari is where their buddhi is very strong and their ichha is also very strong. But it won't fit so completely within this map, because what happens is Uttama Adhikari is also over here, but Uttama Adhikari, their desire is more to serve Krishna at the spiritual level. Means, serve Krishna in the other world. Uttam Adhikari will see that actually everybody is a soul, everybody is a devotee. Why differentiate this person as a devotee, non-devotee? Prabhupada said the Uttam Adhikari has to come down to the Madhyama Adhikari level. Then they can actually do seva in this world. The Uttam Adhikari will be very otherworldly. It's not that they don't have wisdom, but rather their vision is so exalted. Sthavar jangam na dekhi tara murti, sarvatra hai nija ishtadeva spurti. That if we are seeing Krishna everywhere, then we feel okay. Even these people are in Maya. Maya is also under Krishna. And by Krishna's plan, gradually they will come to Krishna. No, but I want to do something for Krishna. So Madhyama Adhikari is where both of them want to do seva, but Madhyama Adhikari also wants to do seva in this world. Or rather, the Uttama Adhikari doesn't see the difference between this world and the other world at all. If they see everything as the spiritual world, Now Prabhupada sometimes said, when he was in America on a morning walk, he said, this is Vaikuntha. We are discussing about Krishna, all of you are trying to serve Krishna, this is Vaikuntha. But then that did not mean Prabhupada stayed like that. Prabhupada said, no, but we want to build a temple here. Prabhupada also wanted people to come to Vrindavan, come to India. So there is a Bheda and Abheda, both are there. Now quite often the Kanishta will be where the Ichcha is strong, but the Buddhi is not very strong. Now when this goes negative, this becomes fanaticism. Because what happens is, the Kanishta will stick to one thing. This is what I like to do, this is what I feel inspired by, and this is the most important thing. That I was in one city and there were two groups of devotees. And one group, they both nice devotees, but one group, they used to, very serious, they would have Mangal Aarti at 4:30 in the morning. The other group was, they were more like into some like hotel business. So, generally they have to work late night and everything. So they would have Mangal Aarti at 6 o'clock. So this first group, they say, Prabhupada said Mangal Aarti means 4:30. If you're doing it at any other time, it is not Mangal Aarti, it is Amangal Aarti. Krishna is not going to accept that Aarti at all. And they're trying to pull devotees. Now, yes, Mangal Aarti is important, but you have to have a sense of perspective. If we are doing worship of Krishna, whatever time we do, it's auspicious. Now, we don't want to change the timing in the temples, generally speaking. But the thing is, in Tamoguna, we take one thing and make it into everything. Yattu krutsnavadekasmin karye saktamahetukam atatvarthavadalpam cha tattamasamudhartam. This is where religion can put off many people. Because they just take one thing and make it into everything. That I don't care for anything else at all. This is the most important thing in life. So, now, if the Kanishta has strong Ichcha, but the Kanishta is actually listening to the Madhyama and Uttama, then what will happen is, they will have they can move upwards. So they won't become fanatical, they will be serious. That what does it mean? Generally Kanishta, what happens is mostly externals. What is the most important thing in bhakti? Okay, when you wear tilak, your tilak has to be straight like this. If your tilak is not straight, you are not a straight devotee. So, devotees can be caught in other things. Now, some devotees may get a lot of inspiration by doing a particular activity properly. That when the darshan opened, I saw the pujari doing the arti. And instead of moving the lamp 7 times, he moved it 8 times. Now, not only did he notice that, he was counting it and he was fixating on it. Okay, the pujari should do the particular number of times, but why fixate on that? If you are the pujari, do it right. But if you are not the pujari, at that time focus on remembering Krishna, beholding the deities, singing the Mangal Aarti, isn't it? So, we can be serious about what inspires us, but we don't have to use that. Instead of moving the lamp 7 times, he moved it 8 times. Now, not only did he notice that, he was counting it and he was fixating on it. Okay, the pujari should do the particular number of times, but why fixate on that? If you are the pujari, do it right. But if you are not the pujari, at that time focus on remembering Krishna, beholding the deities, singing the Mangal Aarti, isn't it? So, we can be serious about what inspires us, but we don't have to use that as a club to beat, or a mace gada to beat everyone down. You are wrong, you are unserious, you are sentimental, you are a deviant. So tamasic bhakti is where it leads to a lot of groupism based on superficial things. I am superior, you are inferior. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki.